Darlings, recently I've been needing a little bit more style, a little bit more colour, needing to explore things I already own. And as many of you will know if you watch my depth year video that I put out recently, you know that I have been wanting to really just rotate what I have and explore things that I already have in my wardrobe. So I decided that I was going to spend some time making a gigantic collage. I have lots of different magazines and I wanted to make a big collage on my wardrobe doors so that I could always see this wealth of inspiration every single morning when I woke up, just different things that put me into different moods and reflect my personal style and what I want to do with it and where it's going. I definitely consider myself to be a style witch in a way. I think that my style is a big part of my magic. I definitely consecrate and bless and charge my clothes, my jewellery, my accessories. I try to make my skincare routine and physical self-care routine into a part of my my sort of magical journey, ritual journey, spiritual journey. The way that I operate in that sense is no different from the rest of my witchhood. I try to really infuse everything with meaning and really give it its proper due in my reality. So I thought I would want to make this gigantic wardrobe collage that expresses different aspects of my style, what I think is magical about those aspects of my style, and little visual reminders for things that I want to do more, like visual reminders that I want to experiment with makeup more, or visual reminders that I want to try out my headgear more, you know, my different headdresses and hats and stuff like that, and just really bring things to the front that I kind of feel like hadn't been given full attention recently and that I'd forgotten that I even had. I think one thing that's really interesting about owning quite a bit of clothing that you've collected over the course of time, or quite a bit of anything really, books or records or whatever, is that you do forget what you have, and then when you rotate and you re-explore your collection and you really let yourself get into it again, it's like this really magical feeling because it feels like you've gone shopping and it feels like everything you found in the shop was something that you wanted, pretty much. And that is because it's stuff that you already own, but you just forgot to reconnect with it, you forgot to reconvene with it, you forgot to bring it in to your reality more. So it's really been a pleasure for me to make this wardrobe collage and really feel like that's kind of going to be the entry point into reconnecting with my stuff. I definitely wanted to pick a lot of bright colours. I picked a lot of different patterns and a lot of different kind of like jewellery prints that I really like. I wanted to put the emphasis on the beautiful and the shiny and the classically feminine, but also I wanted to have nods there to kind of like the feminization of the business suit, you know, the tailoring, the silhouette that I really enjoy in the more business attire and kind of formal wear. That has nods to those sort of classically masculine cuts, traditionally masculine cuts, and I wanted to put a lot of sportswear stuff in there as well because I love sportswear, and so I think I really succeeded in that, guys. I think it all came together really nicely and I had a beautiful time doing it. I played beautiful music, I put incense on, I had candles going, I had my lava lamp on, and I just really allowed myself to flow into this state of being that I really needed and that felt so helpful and healing for me. It was really interesting though, because at a certain point in making this collage, because it was so gigantic and it filled up both of my wardrobe doors, I noticed at this certain point, about 3/4 of the way through, that I started to feel really bad about spending this amount of time with myself doing this project. It was taking much longer than I originally suspected it was going to, partly because I was being fussy and, you know, I got my design brain on, so I was kind of like really overthinking perhaps some aspects of it and where I wanted things to go and stuff like that. But also just because there is definitely this tendency in me, as I know there is in a lot of people, to convince myself that I'm not worthy of that time, or that it's a pointless use of time, or that I'm wasting time if I'm just spending it with myself, just really enjoying what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I want to design, and why I want to put things where I want to put them. It's really the domain of the artist in so many ways to just have that sort of unashamed, unabashed time with yourself and really embrace that and embrace the process. And at some point in the creation of this massive collage, I lost that thread and I started to feel very guilty, very angry with myself. I felt like this is a stupid thing to do, this is really silly, and a lot of people would think it was a silly way to spend free time. So I definitely went into a guilt spiral about it. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I want to be truthful with you that, you know, there are always certain times in my reality where I choose to spend my free time in certain ways, but it creates a feeling inside me. It creates this uncomfortable feeling inside me that I shouldn't be doing that. And I start to think about how other people would view the way that I've chosen to distribute my time and energy, I suppose I should better say. But then I pulled myself up out of that and I just thought, you know what, you've had a really, really difficult year in 2022. You're coming into 2023 wanting to hold a specific energy, you have specific goals, you have things that you want to nurture yourself with, and this collage is a reflection of that. It's a representation of those things that you want to do. Do not allow these ridiculous egoic things to run away with you. Enjoy this time. Really sort of like push yourself forward. And I looked at the collage that I was making and I asked myself a question. Do you like this process? Do you like what you've done so far with the collage? Is it inspiring you when you sit back on the bed and you look at it in your room? And the answer to these questions was yes, definitely. I love the look of it. I love where everything's going. And I am enjoying the practical process of putting it all together. And at that point, I thought to myself, well, in that case, darling, you owe it to yourself to go on. Keep going. Let yourself have that time. Let yourself invest your energy into this. So I want to say that it's normal for someone to come to this point in the middle of a project where they feel like this is a silly thing to do. It's definitely normal to tell yourself that there is this other use of time that is more adult, more upstanding, would be more understandable to other people, and you should be doing that thing instead. And I would urge you, especially if you know that you're going on a very, very deep healing journey, you're in the middle of a difficult or dark emotional process, any of that stuff, or you're in transition and you're really trying to sort of connect with your core, connect with everything about your beingness that is stable in your reality at this really transient time. If you're going through any of that stuff, let yourself have some time to do something like the thing that I've done. I'm really pleased with it. I love it so much. It made me feel happy. It made me feel carefree. It elevated me. It inspired me. And it's been up for a couple of days now at the time of filming this, and I love looking at it. I just love sitting in the morning on my bed, having a cup of tea, and basically just tripping out into this beautiful big collage of all of this imagery that I found so indulgent and so decadent and so beautiful and motivating. So that's kind of where I'm beginning this video today. I hope you enjoy having this little slice of my project. I just wanted to let you know that it's okay and that you can have those times for yourself, and in fact it creates sanity, and no one is going to thank you for not giving yourself that time, struggling, feeling like you're kind of losing that thread of sanity in one way or another. But you know what, you're not going to give yourself that time because in some way it's not justifiable to the adult ego. No one's going to thank you for that, and no one's going to come along and hand you a bag of sanity that you didn't give to yourself. If you need something for your mental well-being, you need something for a while for your mental well-being, and that has to be okay. Hi darlings, thank you for joining me for this update. I'm going to get a bit personal here. Obviously, as you guys know, I've had a really, really difficult time over the past few months. Last spring, I lost my little brother in an unexpected and very tragic way. For those of you who don't know, we lost him in a traffic accident, and it's been hell, absolute agony every step of the way. I wanted to talk about a few things that have been aiding me lately. And this is partly, my mentality around this is partly so you can understand a little bit about what's been happening with me, but also so that you can kind of get a sense of what's worked for me in case you find yourself going through anything similarly horrifying, devastating, anything you weren't expecting, anything you feel like you're really struggling to handle, and you're questioning yourself and your faith and your sense of who you are in your core, and how possible it is to get through something like this. First of all, being a witch has saved me. Being a witch has saved me. And further to that, being a spiritual practitioner, I think, has been part of what has saved me. I just think that when something like this happens, when something so dreadful and so dark and so unexpected and so unjustified happens, it's useful to have as many tools as possible, as many words as possible, as many areas in your home, places to go, publicly and personally, as many things like that as possible, as many things that are comforting, empowering, inspiring, metaphysically elevating. Having those things already in the toolkit has been huge for me, huge. And I will never forget how graciously the craft gives to me everything that I give to it. It's a really dynamic synergy. And I have said a few times to friends and to my therapist and on social media and stuff that I feel like so much of what I've put myself into, so much of what I've learned, so much of what I've been doing in my practice, in my business, with the book, everything has been training for this moment. And I'm not trying to say I obviously was only doing it for this and now I can stop. Being a witch will be a lifelong journey for me, without any doubt. But what I'm saying is that there can be no doubt that my sanity, my sense of core, my foundation, my sense of what is available to me when nothing else is, much of that has come from the craft. Much of it has come from the craft. And so I couldn't be more grateful for that. I couldn't be more inspired by that. I do think that something that you feed and that you invest in and that you consider to be a living practice that needs nourishment and sustenance and attention and time and focus and respect and energy, something like that in your life gives back to you when you have nothing to give. And I've said to people before, I've said to a lot of witches, I have a lot of conversations with witches in my business about how to be dedicated and how to bring potency in and how to make things consistent. And I often have said that it's really important, I think, that we recognize as practitioners that the altar is not just a place that we go to give our energy, to give our focus and attention. It's somewhere we go to get energy and focus and meaning. It's a charging point in your home. And if you don't have an altar, wherever you practice, in your mind, on your bed, wherever, it's a place to go to receive nourishment. We shouldn't go there feeling like, oh my God, I don't know if I have the energy for this tonight. I don't know if I can do this because I've got to put so much in. It shouldn't always be that way. Sometimes it should just be like, I don't have anything left, so I need to go to the altar. I need to charge up. I need to plug in. I need to connect with my witchhood so that I have some energy and some inspiration and some gathered vitality and life force so I can continue to do this because I'm on my knees. I am stressed. I have nothing left. I am so bewildered and overcome and in disarray that I need to be in my witchhood. I think that has been much more the mentality that I've taken. I've not worried about like, okay, I've had this huge unexpected loss. I'm in this massive bereavement. Therefore I can't witch. It's been quite the opposite thing. It's been like, I need to go and just sit. I need to do rosary. I need to commune with hell. I need to throw runes. I need to do a devotional. I need to do some cauldron work so I can power up, rather the opposite of feeling like I need to give my power to this. I have to have something to give to this and I don't have anything. And how stressful is that? Instead, it's kind of been like, I don't have anything. So the thing that gives me food, spiritual food, nourishment, inspiration, the will to live would be witchhood. It would be witchcraft. It would be that, you know, I see it as feeding me rather than me needing to feed it and having nothing to give, which would be incredibly stressful. If that was my mindset, it would be a very stressful thing and I would feel very guilty and very weird about it. But I don't feel that way, which is great. Being online at this time in my life has been quite hard. It's been inspiring and I have loved to still be present online. I'm not talking about my clients and my sessions. I have actually found that to be very life-giving and hope-giving. And I am, you know, to an extent, an instrumental griever. An instrumental griever is a type of griever who will try to maintain routine, be active, have plans, have things to sort of like invest themselves in order to process their grief, as opposed to what is known more as an intuitive griever, who will be someone who will pull away from activities, pull away from routine, be much more emotionally expressive. Actually, I'm a blended griever. I'm a combination of both, and most people are. Most people are not entirely one way or entirely the other. But what I've come to learn from this, you know, this gigantic bereavement is that I am an instrumental griever. I did go back to work quite soon. It was only a couple of weeks before I went back to work. And then I took some time off to, you know, prepare for the memorial, help my family and stuff. And then I was back to work quite soon after that, less than a week after that. I needed it. I knew that I was going to fall very deep into a massive void of mental health issues if I did not stay on track with something. And during the time that I'm speaking to clients, I'm really focusing on their story. You know, it's really about them and, you know, it's really about trying to navigate their path, listen to their story and figure out what the tools are going to be or what the cards are saying for them. And so it's also this mental holiday for me in a way, and it's a place where I can shine and I can be in my strength, and it feels good. It feels really good during a time that's so difficult, of course. So I'm not talking about the clients so much, but the social media, videos, that kind of thing, the email, all of that. That's been quite difficult. Part of the reason for that is because obviously I did make a video at the time that it happened last March, explaining that this terrible tragedy had befallen my family and his friends and everything. After that, I felt this weird sense that it wasn't okay for me to go back to normal. And nobody made me feel this way. I'm literally just trying to be honest about how I felt. Nobody made me feel this way. Nobody said anything to make me feel this way. Everybody was very supportive. But I wanted to go back to making videos about ordinary shit that my channel is about. The things that I talk about, the themes that I'm interested in. I thought that would be helpful to me. And I also didn't see that it would do much good to give too many updates, to talk incessantly in vlogs about how I was doing and what I was doing in my therapy and how terrible I was feeling and all of my down days. I don't think that's for public consumption. That's not for wider public consumption. And I knew intuitively that that was the way I was going to handle it. But I felt weird about it. I was worried that people would think that this terrible thing had happened to me and I'd just gotten over it, which of course I haven't. I'm only right at the beginning. And it will take a very, very long time for me even to feel like life is normal again. Because I loved him so much. Of course, I'll always love him, but it's changed. So I worried that people would think, well, that's weird of her. You know, she's just come out with this massive statement about this life-altering thing, and now she just wants to talk about cards and witchcraft and like self-development stuff. That's odd. And maybe some people did find it odd, but as I said, I've come to learn from this experience, which is by far the biggest bereavement I've ever experienced in my life. I've come to learn that I am, in many ways, an instrumental griever. You know, I need to be getting on with things. I want some sense of continued routine. In a lot of ways, guys, my routine has kind of fallen apart. In fact, I was just speaking to my brother's girlfriend the other day. We have a very close connection. We speak virtually every day since he passed, and have been an extraordinary comfort to each other in this time, because we were two of the closest women to him alongside my mum. And one of his closest friends, Alex, also a very close woman in his life. And she was saying to me, you don't have enough routine back, I don't think, you know, and I really took that in, because a lot of my routine has fallen by the wayside. That being said, there is a lot of routine that I've maintained when it comes to my creative journey, my business, etc. I've tried to keep things on track there, and I think that's been really helpful for me. I don't expect a perfect score when it comes to anything to do with the grief. I don't expect masses from myself. I don't expect to always know what the next right action needs to be and how I'm going to execute it. I don't expect that from myself. That would be ridiculous. I'm grieving at the end of the day, and I need to be gentle with myself first and foremost. So yes, a lot of routine has fallen by the wayside, but I've kept a lot of routine, and I have worried about that. I've worried about how that looks. Whenever I share an update about my grieving process, it's so from the heart. It's so something that I wanted to say in that moment, and I knew it was right. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like something I'm expected to say, because I haven't allowed myself to expect anything in that way of me. I will not do it. I'm not going to divulge every single thing I'm going through. Just trust and rest assured, it's not been an easy process in any way. I am in therapy every single week, doing some of the deepest therapeutic work I have ever done in my life. In fact, on the day of filming this, I did the deepest and most difficult and most painful therapy session I've ever done. I yelled, I cried, I yelled again. I scribbled things down while I was talking to my therapist. I went into a lot of different things to do with the grief, to do with my childhood, to do with what's happened to me over the past few years, my relationship with my mother, my relationship with, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I gave myself to that. And I think that process is extraordinary for me, and I'm really proud of myself. But no one would ever know. No, you know, people would not know that, you know. I did post about that today a little bit. I didn't share everything. I didn't divulge everything. I had some major revelations in that therapy session, but I didn't divulge everything because, like I said, it's not for public consumption. And I have a really sure sense of what it is that is okay to say and that I want to say and that isn't. But I did post about that today, and it's because it felt right to do that. I didn't feel pressure. I didn't pressure myself. And I'm proud of myself for that. I have had many different tangles of emotions to contend with. Some of them have come along together in this really vexed mess, like this cataclysmic tangle of emotions, fear, guilt that I lived and he didn't, guilt that I can enjoy things in this material realm, massive fear, anger, lots of resentment, lots of confusion, lots of suspicion, paranoia, insecurity, disgust. You know, the extremes of emotion and the way they blend together in such a sense that you could not even describe their various colours. You can't tell where one emotion ends and the other begins. You just can't. That experience is very taxing. It's incredibly trying. And for the first time in my life since the depths of my mental illness, I have really been experiencing day by day how exhausting it is physically for the brain to go through so much, for the brain to be processing so much different shit. I have experienced some things around grieving that have been extraordinarily difficult. One of the things that I will mention is my sleeping pattern has been ridiculous. It's been all over the shop. For the first 8.5 months, I just wasn't sleeping enough at all. I wasn't sleeping enough whatsoever. It didn't really affect my cognition as much as I know it does other people. And I was talking about this in my Patreon a while ago. I did a Patreon live, and I was talking about how weird it is that my sleep cycle being so affected by the grief hasn't really had that much of an overall effect negatively as you would think. And I think that's for a few different reasons, to do with the way that my mind and my spirit is set up, which I won't go into because it would take forever to explain. But I think I have a certain notion of why that is. I've never been a big sleeper anyway. I've never been someone that needs 7 or 8 hours sleep to function. I'm more of a 6 hours and a cat nap type of a bitch, you know. Every so often I might surprise myself with a 9 or 10 or 11 hours sleep, but it's very rare. And it's usually after several Dionysian days of hedonistic fuckery. So, you know, it makes sense, makes more sense. But in general, I've never been sort of really needed a lot of sleep. But then in the last month and a half or so, it's been a need for sleep, sleeping through my alarms, not sleeping through client calls. That's been fine because I don't start my client calls till 10 in the morning. So I can kind of navigate things and it's okay. But just this wild sense of like needing sleep and my body craving sleep and suddenly crashing in the middle of the day, suddenly needing like, you know, physically I can't do anything else. You know, it's like I don't have a choice. I must lie on the bed in all my clothes and just sleep. It's like my body's taking the power back. Not that I had the power before, like, because obviously I would have been sleeping a bit more if I had that power, but I didn't. This is the journey with grief. This is the journey, and I just have to go with it. Of course, I've had all of my desires to self-destruct that I used to have in the past, every single one. I've wanted to have rage meltdowns, break everything, tell everyone to fuck off. I've wanted to self-harm. I've wanted to restrict food. I've wanted to do all of that stuff. I've wanted to totally just burn my life, burn it down, walk away from everything. I've wanted to turn my phone off, leave it in my flat, take all my money out of the bank and just walk. Just go. Just leave my life, leave my responsibilities, leave my friends, leave everything and just go. I think this is also quite normal with grief as well. This sense of like, it's done, it's dust, it's nothing without him. I need to start again. I'm really proud of myself that not only have I not done that, but I also explained to my friends that that was something that I was thinking of doing just in case I did it, so that they would know that I was okay. I needed to explain to a few of my closest friends, like, look, I keep having this compulsion. Obviously, I'm going through something incredibly difficult and confusing, the likes of which I've not gone through before. So I'm telling you now, in case something like that happens, I'm okay and I have not harmed myself. I just needed to go for a walk. Finally, darlings, I just wanted to say that my creative projects have saved me too. They are a part of my witchhood. I don't really see them as any different. You know, when I'm writing poetry, I'm being intentional and devotional. When I'm making collage, doing visual art, I'm being intentional and devotional, and emotional, all of those things. When I'm making videos, same thing. And I really want to thank, particularly, by the way, anyone who has purchased a visual collage since I first started making them. I have started to sell my artwork for the first time ever in my nearly 40 years of life. I've started to sell my artwork and it actually is selling. Like, people are actually buying it and it is a trip. It's incredible. I want to thank everybody who's parted with money for a piece of art. I am incredibly irritated that the last batch of pieces that I made, although they sold well and I'm really pleased with that, I can't send them overseas right now because of this bloody cyber attack that's affecting parcels being sent by Royal Mail. So if we get to the end of the month and I still can't send them, I'm going to have to pay for a courier, which is going to be much more expensive, obviously. But you know, I have to do that. I have to get these pieces to where they need to live. I've got a bejeweled Medusa in the living room who's not happy to not be where she's supposed to belong. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much. I will leave the link down below to my store in case you want to purchase a piece of my art. They're all individual, unique collage pieces, no copy and paste antics, nothing like that, no prints. It's all original collage art fashioned by moi. And I'm really, really excited about that. Thank you to everyone who follows my poetry Instagram. Thank you to everybody who's ever smashed a like on a poem, who's ever written a comment about what they liked about a poem of mine. It means everything to me. I only started to expose my poetry to the public in 2020. And since then, it's just been a wild couple of years of showing my experimentations, showing you my many, many children, because that's what I think of my poems as, my children. They came through my creative birth canal. I was in my Empress energy to write those things. They are honest and they're true. Sometimes they're the most truest things that I need to say. I don't know if you guys can hear, but the dogs outside are having a hell of a time. They are really like, the owners of those dogs really need to get a grip, because they are in yards. They're obviously not on a walk because they've been arguing back and forth over the fences for like ages. So the owners really need to get a grip and stop watching TV and come and take care of their boys, you know, come get your boys, because it's getting ridiculous. Anyway, thank you so much to everyone who supported my creative intention. I'm going to make a lot of pre-recorded video courses this year. So many people ask me, Kellyanne, can you please take what you do in your live workshops and make pre-recorded video courses? I can never attend your live workshops. I live on the other side of the world. I have anxiety. I don't like the live workshop format. Please put it into pre-recorded. And so this year, for you guys, I'm doing that. Okay, I'm going to make that happen. I promise. There'll be a whole fresh batch of those, and I really can't wait to get into that. I can't wait to give myself that nurturing, nourishing feeling of making things and enjoying what I'm making and liking what I'm seeing. I'm really looking forward to it. So I want to thank you for supporting me on that. The final thing I want to say is about the book. I am working on a second book, and I've actually put the brakes on it just recently. And this is something else that I revealed amongst my Pop-Tarts on Patreon. So my Pop-Tarts already know. But basically I had to put the brakes on the book. For those of you who saw my my birthday video that I made, my solo birthday expedition to the New Forest that I put out in December, if you saw that, you will know that I was writing the book. I was working on the book a little bit when I was in the hotel for my birthday trip. And I don't know how many of you noticed, but I did mention in that vlog towards the end that I had been working on the book in the hotel, that I wrote some things and then I didn't really know if I liked them. I didn't really know if they were right and whatever. And then I started to feel really sick and I needed to like stop, and just because I felt like nauseous, right? That might have just seemed like a random story, like of just one night when I got sick. But actually what I realized was, and I realized this like in December, shortly after I filmed that vlog, I realized that I often was getting sick when I was writing the book, physically sick and needing to stop and feeling like I was going to throw up, and headaches and just feeling wrong, feeling unwell. The theme of the book is darkness. The theme of the book is hard times, struggle, money trouble, mental health difficulty, breakups, heartbreak, bereavement. There's a chapter on bereavement. There's a chapter about the feeling of the planet burning and what the fuck we can do about that as a collective of spiritual practitioners. There's a lot in there that's very, very heavy. It's much heavier than the first book. It's very deep, very juicy, very vibrant content, but it is about very serious shit. There's no question of that. And I think what was happening was that my life at the moment is very serious shit. And that's not to say that I'm not having a good time. I have tried very intentionally and very consciously to still have a very good time in my life. That is what he would have wanted. And if the roles were reversed and I'd have died, that's what he would have done. We were both very Dionysian, very hedonistic. Love a good time. Had a good time together quite often. You should have seen me on New Year's Eve. I was wearing a green suit with like a black mesh top and a bra underneath. And I danced all night. I stayed up all night. I stayed up till the very next morning with my friends. I wanted to make it count. And the song that my friend dropped at midnight was Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. I fucking love that band. Oh, they're honestly one of my favourite bands. And I was dancing and crying at the same time. I've tried very consciously to keep my attendance with my friends to things, to parties, you know. I went to a couple of festivals last summer, not overnight festivals, because I didn't feel like that was going to be right for me. I didn't want to wake up in a tent sobbing, or because a lot of my grief happens in the morning and then late at night. So I didn't want to be at like a 3-day festival, but I went to a couple of day festivals and I loved that. It was great. It felt really good. You know, I'm seeing art, I'm doing lives on YouTube, I'm doing my lives on Patreon, I'm enjoying things. But there is no doubt that this is the hardest time of my life. The hardest time. And I wasn't having a particularly great time between 2019 and the beginning of 2022. Let me tell you, one day I will make a video about this. But let me tell you that the beginning of 2019 onwards, right the way through until the end of 2021, I was not in a good place at all, personally. Not in a good place. Was I practicing self-love? Yes. Was I practicing witchcraft? Hell yes. Was I not falling prey to negative behaviours? For the most part, yeah. I was really strong in my core, but things were not fun for me. I got spat out of a disgustingly emotionally toxic relationship that I fucking did not deserve. You can see that's still a hot subject for me, darlings. Then I got chewed back up into it at the same time as feeling intense rejection from two of my supposedly closest friends for reasons that just didn't need to be and didn't need to happen. And I was just coming out of it at the beginning of 2022, honestly, like 3 months before my brother died. I remember one of my friends saying to me, things really are looking up for you. You've really found your strength, and God damn it, nothing else bad can happen to you, Kellyanne. You must have some better luck now. And we laughed about it. 3 months later, my brother was dead. The universe. Doesn't it have a sense of humour? I remember a witch said to me once, like, slaps, like cosmic slaps in the tits. She didn't say it like that, but of course, this is how I speak. The cosmic bitch slap right in the bollocks always comes in threes. And I think she may have been right. So it's definitely what happened to me. Definitely what happened to me. And it was huge contrast as well, darlings, because the years from 2015 to 2018, all the way to the end of 2018, best years of my life. Best years of my life. 2017 was the greatest year of my life so far. It was so good. Like, I still regularly look back on that year and the years around it, like the lovely sandwich cake of those years, and think, damn, after that much magic and wonderment and beauty and love and friendship and joy and festivals and everything, I can die happy. I can die knowing I did what I was supposed to do. It was truly, truly Dionysian and beautiful. So yes, I did have a very, very good time and then a very, very bad time. And so there's been massive contrast. And I was just coming out, of the badness when I got back into the badness again. So I don't think the book is right for me. I don't think it's right that I'm writing a book like that right now. I absolutely intend to finish it. I've already spoken to my publisher about needing to stop for my mental health. I think that it was psychosomatic. The physical symptoms I was experiencing from writing the book were psychosomatic, clearly, because they're not happening now, and they only happened when I would be about an hour into my writing practice. It was bringing up things for me that I don't think I need to spend too long writing about. I still enjoy speaking with clients and with audience members and with patrons about difficult and dark things. I'll always do that. I'm not only a shadow worker, I'm a shadow chaser. At this point, I'm a goddamn shadow hierophant. I will give myself that moniker, okay? That's mine. I take that. I've earned that shit. But to then, finish 4 clients in the day, other things that I have to do, try and get some social life in during the week, and then try and write 2,000 to 5,000 words a week as well, something had to give. And it's the book. The book is what has to give. So I have decided to put it on hold, which means it will not come out in October of this year as we had planned. I think it will come out in January of next year. That's good for me. That's enough time. That's enough of a break. I need that. So I wanted to let you know that as well. Please don't worry. If you've pre-ordered the book, I am writing the book. I'm in a contract. I wish to write the book. I think it's a book that deserves to be written and needs to be written, and I want it to be by my hand. I absolutely intend for that, but I need to wait. I'm sure you guys can appreciate that. And I had paused the book. I had paused the process, but I started it up again. I was like, yeah, I want to do it. It's going to be part of my instrumental bereavement, that I have this routine as well. But that's too much. That was just a touch too much. I made a mistake. And I acknowledge that I made a mistake in saying that I would stick to the original deadline. It's not feasible. So I need to wait. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the spring will bring in terms of ideas and refreshment. And I want to thank you all for watching this video and taking the time to really interface with my pain and my experience in this way. It means a lot because this is about me and what I've been going through, what's been helping, what's been hindering. It's not my usual style of video, but I appreciate you for sticking with me. please leave any comments down below. I would love to read them. And so much love, and stay safe and stay sane and keep it rebellious and a little bit Dionysian. Blessed be. Mwah.